I was thinking a lot about this recently, and I always think about this, and that's my expatriation. But I was thinking about it, I guess, more deeply, and I was thinking about why I have to leave the Western world, in particular the UK. And the main reason why I'm done with the West is because I've noticed that living here in this country, things aren't really getting any easier. The prices have been jacked up on everything, and it just doesn't offer value for money. On top of that, I mean, I can live a better lifestyle for the same price. I'm going to be spending more overseas anyway, but I can live a better lifestyle. I get better value for money overseas. So that makes more sense to go over there. I mean, it's all about at the end of the day, it's all about the quality of life that your money can get you. And we speak about that a lot, but see, in my mind, I see it like the quality of life that you're living. If it's a high quality, if it's what I like to call a top end lifestyle, that's gonna really improve other areas of your life as well. On top of that, like I look at it like, okay, if I'm living a high end, top end lifestyle, I'm gonna be more confident. I'm gonna be more ambitious. Because it's easy. It's very, very easy to get bogged down in the Western world. Because why? Because most people, they don't really increase their quality of life. And the reason why they don't do that is because it's expensive to live in these countries. And when you're living in these countries, you don't want to put yourself at risk of overspending. You don't want to put yourself at risk of going broke. So you just keep living the same quality of life. But what does that do? That lowers your confidence, it lowers your self-esteem. And that's what I call becoming bogged down. You really start to become bogged down. And that's why you see a lot of guys, they don't really achieve anything because they get stuck in a rut. It's easy to get stuck in a rut, and if I'm being honest, I mean, I ain't really achieved my goals the past few years. I mean, I shouldn't even be, I mean, my goal to leave the country was really 2009, not 2019, sorry, November this year. That was and I'm not going to be able to do that. I'm not going to be able to leave by November because, I mean, the economy in this country is terrible and I made some poor choices. And I had an issue over the summer that has held me back. I'm behind. I'm still basically in the summertime. Now we're heading towards almost in October. I mean, time is flying, flying by. But I'm gonna have to push my expatriation to basically maybe April 2024. Um, I'm basically gonna have to do a 6 month extension. And that's if I can even make that. That's if I don't run into any other problems and things can go swimmingly. But while I've been trying to do all these things, things have been getting way more expensive. I mean, and you notice these things. So, you look at it from a perspective of everything, you take everything into account and you realize that there's really no point staying here. I mean, people stay here for a number of reasons. I mean, the main reason why people stay in the Western world is they can't be bothered. A lot of people just can't be bothered to go overseas, and uh, the other reason is people stay because they got wife and kids. Which is a big mistake. It's a big mistake to have a wife and kids in the Western world, get married in the Western world. That's a big mistake because you are locking yourself into a contract. You're locking yourself into a deal that isn't really a good deal. You're giving up your mobility as a man. You shouldn't give up your mobility as a man. Now, if you feel you met your soulmate, whatever, I mean, I'm not one to speak on that, but at the end of the day, having kids is a different matter as well. I mean, you need money to have kids. I mean, we're going to be talking about that in other videos, but at the end of the day, man, you just look at the Western world and you see it like, why would I stay in the country when, you know, I can get way more for my money overseas? I'm a guy, I've always been about value for money. I like quality of life, I like high quality things, but I don't like to pay over the odds. And that's what I noticed in this country, especially my region. You're basically paying over the odds. And you're paying over the odds to live in a country that's not even safe. I mean, that's one thing. Like, this country ain't even safe. It's only a matter of time. I mean, I've spoken about the crime wave, and the crime wave is coming, and it's already here. I mean, but it's gonna get worse in the next 2 years. How long until you become a victim of crime in these high crime countries? I mean, how long before you become a victim of crime? I mean, that's the thing. I've been lucky I've not had to deal with that firsthand. But the longer I stay in this country, the longer I'm putting myself at risk of becoming a victim of crime. The crime here is higher than Southeast Asia. It's higher, man. It's way higher. I mean, for the most part. That's the truth. I mean, you leave your phone, you go to a coffee shop, whatever, you leave your phone on the table and go to pick up the coffee, you're gonna get it's gonna get nicked. I mean, let's be real about that. We know how it is here in the Western world. Like, you can't really do these things in those countries. You can do though. They don't have a thieving kind of culture that they have here. I don't want to become a victim of crime because I stayed in the Western world too long. I don't want to have to worry about crime. That's why I don't go to places like Latin America. I got no interest in going to places like Colombia, Brazil, because I know the places are full of crime. Why would I go move from a country that has too much crime to move to a country with even more crime? That doesn't make sense. But we know the reason why they're going to Brazil and Colombia. We know why, because to satisfy their fetish. I mean, we know the reason why they're going out there. Their fetish is more than anything, just like that one loser from Maidstone, who goes to Japan to satisfy his fetish, and he's broke. I mean, we're not going to talk about him, but I mean, this is the reality. But I'm going overseas to live a luxury lifestyle. I'm not going overseas to help anyone. I'm not going overseas. I'm going overseas for entirely selfish reasons, man. I'm going over there to indulge on luxury living. That's why I'm going over there. And when I indulge on luxury living, it's my belief that that's going to make me more confident. That's going to make me more ambitious because you need a fresh start. You need a new lease on life. You need these things. These are important things. Like, you can't just keep living the same quality of life over and over and over again. Like, that's not good for your mind. It's not good for your mind to keep living the same quality of life like over and over and over again. That's not good. That's bad. Like, that's bad to keep living the same quality of life. Like, you're not improving. That's not fulfillment. We want fulfillment out of this life. We don't want to just be staying in the same position. Just I'm not trying to wait until I'm 50 years old to start living luxury, but that's the Western way though. The Western way is that you basically wait until you're 50 because the country's set up to benefit the old people. It's not set up to benefit the young. And, that's why, I mean, you can even come back to the Western world later on. I mean, if you want, I'm personally not coming back to this country, but you can even come back later on if that's what, but in your 20s and 30s, if you're doing this online business thing, if you're going to make the same amount of money overseas, I personally believe I'm going to make a lot more money overseas for the reason I just mentioned. But if you're in theory making the same amount of money overseas, then it's beneficial for you. It's beneficial for you to leave the Western world, because why would you stay in the Western world when, it's getting harder and tougher to make money, especially in this country? I remember back 5 years ago, making money was like clockwork. It was like clockwork. I thought I'd be a millionaire by the time I hit 30, and I probably would have been. But the thing is that the whole game has changed in this industry. The whole game has changed. It's not like clockwork making money anymore. I don't know the reason why, and I'm not gonna waste my time trying to find out, because I don't think I can find out. I don't have the insider information. But a lot of it is gone is down to the economy, man. The economy is crap at the moment. It's really bad. I mean, people are not spending money here in the UK. I mean, the UK is probably the worst developed country at the moment to make money in. And I think that's across the board. I think that's whether you're working 9 to 5 or whether you're, an entrepreneur. I think across the board, I think if you look at the developed world, I really feel like the UK is the worst country, um, in the West, in the developed. I don't know about the West, but at least in the developed Anglo world, man, I feel like it's definitely not up there. I personally just don't care about living here anymore. I mean, to be honest with you, I really just don't care. I mean, and I know everybody got their own opinions on this country and everything like that. I know people got their own opinions, but at the end of the day, it's all down to you. It's all really down to what do you want out of life. I feel like, um, you know, as a guy who wants to live a top end lifestyle, I'm not gonna try and do it here. I'm not gonna try. I mean, I don't even like the weather here. I hate the weather here. Um, and then you've got the issue with the crime. I mean, like, why would I spend all that money? Why would I spend 4 to 5 times the amount? Which at the end of the day, I don't even have the cash to do it right now. But let's say 5 to 10 years in the future, why would I do that? Why would I just extend my suffering? Like, extend my suffering more years? It doesn't, it's not practical. Because you can also, one thing that I became in this country, which I don't like, but I kind of became cheap. I mean, I always been cheap. I always been cheap anyway because I was not raised with a lot of money, so I've always been cheap, but I kind of became cheap again over the years. I don't want to be cheap. I don't want to be a cheap guy. I don't want to be a cheap guy. I'm all about value for money, but I don't want to be a cheap kind of guy. So that's another thing. It's just, when you take everything into account, if you want to expatriate, you got to take everything into account. But the first thing you got to have a Western source of income. You got to have a proper Western income if you're going overseas. If you think you're just going to go overseas and you're going to start up a business, and I mean, that's dumb. I mean, you should be having something that is at least somewhat lucrative and stable and reliable back home before you go over to these countries, man. Which I've had that for years, but it's just a fact of I don't want to leave money on the table. I don't want to leave money on the table to go overseas right now. I mean, technically, I could go overseas right now, but then if something comes up, okay, then I'm having to come back to the Western world. My thing is that I'm never coming back to the Western world. That's the thing. The commitment that I've made is that once I go over there, I'm never coming back, which is why it's taking me so long because I'm taking all the precautions. that I have to. Most guys who go over to these countries, they say, I'm just going out there to enjoy it while it lasts. And they're destined to come back. They're destined to come back because it's just a thing of a spur of the moment thing. They haven't really thought about the possible scenarios that could lead to them returning back to the Western world. Like that one YouTuber who went out to Thailand. I think he lived there for 10 years, then he came back unemployed. I mean, he came back to his country as a YouTuber, and his wife's working in the corporate world, which is very embarrassing that you come back, your Thai wife is working in the corporate world, and you're an unemployed YouTuber. But that's the thing. I don't know if he's still unemployed, but he was at the time. But that's the thing. I mean, a lot of these guys, that's a failure out there. I mean, some guys won't see that as a failure, but to me, that's a failure. If you have to come back to the Western world and it's not really your number one choice, then you failed. I can't live with that. I can't live with going overseas and then being pushed to come back to the Western world. Not because necessarily you go broke, but because, there's things you need to sort out before you touch down. In order for you to stay out there, there's things you need to sort out. Otherwise, you're either going to lose a lot of money or you just have to come back. I mean, I don't want to put myself in that position. So that's why I'm not desperate to leave the Western world, but we're targeting next year. And another thing, just before we move on to the next topic, which is also linked, but just before we move on to the next topic, when I touch down overseas, I'm not deleting the channel. Eventually I will either delete the channel or stop posting, but when I touch down overseas, I'm not deleting the channel, but obviously when I touch down overseas, the content is actually gonna be very how can I put this? The content is gonna be more frequent. There's gonna be more content because when I touch down overseas, obviously I'm gonna have more time because the stuff that I was doing in the Western world, I'm not gonna have to do it overseas. All I'm going overseas to do is pretty much, I mean, I'm still gonna be working big hours when I touch down overseas, but that's all I'm gonna be doing, you know. That's all I'm gonna be doing. I'm not gonna have to do anything because everything else is gonna be laid out for me. Everything else is gonna be laid out for me and essentially done for me. And that's great, but that's I'm gonna have more time, so this channel is gonna have a lot more content when I touch down overseas, man. I can guarantee you that. I can guarantee you that this channel is gonna have a lot more content when I touch down overseas. Let me tell you that. Let me tell you that right now that this channel will have a lot more content when I touch down overseas. So you can look forward to that. You can look forward to that. I guarantee you, you can look forward to that. Absolutely. You can look forward to that because this channel is going to be more active because I'm going to have more time. Hopefully. Hopefully. That's the plan. But anyways, moving on to you guys who want to expatriate, right? I got one thing to tell you guys. What I want to tell you guys is basically when you do touch down overseas, right? When you do touch down overseas, or not even when you touch down overseas, but before you touch down overseas, what I need to tell you is that don't tell anyone. Don't tell anyone. Don't tell a soul. Okay? Let me make that clear. Don't tell a soul, okay, when you're ready to touch down. Don't do it. Do not do it, please. Please don't do it. And the reason why I tell you, okay, to not trust a soul is because I know how people are. I know that before you touch down, okay, I know before you touch down, what are people gonna do? I'll tell you what they're gonna do, especially your family. I'll tell you what they're gonna do. They're gonna start to plant seeds of doubt, okay? They're gonna start to plant seeds of doubt in your mind, okay? They're gonna start to plant seeds of doubt in your mind to try to dissuade you from going overseas. That's exactly what they're gonna do, my friend. That's exactly what they're gonna do. They're gonna try and plant seeds of doubt in your mind to dissuade you from going overseas. Absolutely. Absolutely, that's what they're gonna do. Because the reality is, people don't really want you to touch down overseas. You know, they don't want you to touch down overseas. If they did, you know, if they did, they would have told you to do it. Just like Nomad Capitalist's father told him, go where you're treated best. That come from his father. If you didn't know, he didn't create that. You know, your family, your parents should be more knowledgeable, right? How come they don't know about that? How come they don't understand that? They should know that. I mean, a large part of it is jealousy. People are jealous, man. Like, let's not kid ourselves. Like, people are jealous of the fact that if you do make it, if you do put yourself in a position where you can touch down overseas, people are jealous of that. People don't want to see you live in luxury while they're struggling in the Western world. You know, they don't want to see that. They can say whatever the hell they want about, oh, it's so great and I love my son and all that bullshit. Yeah, yeah, that's all a load of BS because let's face the facts and face the truth. If all that is so true, then why is it that you don't want him to go overseas? Why? Because the truth is that you don't want him to go overseas because you lose that benefit that you get out of him. This is what it's about. It's about the benefit that you get out of him. It's not about, uh, you know, you don't want him to go overseas because of any other reason. You don't want to lose that benefit that you get out of him. You don't want to lose that benefit. So, of course, you don't want to lose that benefit you get out of him. So, it's all about you. It ain't about him, it's about you. That's what it's about. It's about you. You don't want to lose the benefit that you get out of him. So it's all about you then, isn't it? It's all about you. You want to sit there and make it about you. You don't care that he's suffering in the Western world. You don't care about that. You don't. You don't give a toss. You don't give a hoot about that. But these are the people that are supposed to be our closest allies. Nah, bro, don't fall for that. Don't tell nobody. Don't tell a soul. Let me say that again. Don't tell a soul that you're leaving the Western world. Don't tell anybody. They're gonna try and implant those seeds of doubt in your mind. They're gonna do that. I'm telling you guys right now, don't tell any, I'm not telling nobody. And if you say, oh, I have to tell them, they're my family, they're my friends, I've known them I don't give a toss. You don't tell them because of them. It's not that you're not telling them. Now, you may have somebody who's brought it up to you and said, you know what, you should leave the Western world, this and then That's a different thing. If they've come up to you and recommended you to leave the Western world and say, you know what, things are a lot cheaper and it's a lot more affordable and blah, that's different. But 99.9% of people, they ain't come across people like that. Most people, when you talk about leaving the Western world, especially if it's not for work, you're not going there because you've basically been stationed there by your work. If you're going there by choice, you don't really, there's nothing really pushing you there. You will get lambasted for doing that. So there's no real reason to go out there and tell people that you're leaving the Western world. You shouldn't do it. You shouldn't do it. I'm telling you right now, don't tell a soul that you're leaving the Western world. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Just don't do it, man. It poses far more risks because these people are influential in your life, your family members, your friends. They're influential in your life. If you feel like you must tell somebody when you're at the airport, just before you board the plane, call them, text them, tell them I'm touching down in Southeast Asia and toodles. You know, I don't know, man, but if you because the only reason why you might want to tell them in case the plane goes down, you know, in the odd occasion that the plane might go down, it might go down. There's an unlikely, but it could go down, right? If it goes down, then obviously they're not gonna know what happened to you. You don't want them to think that you're missing. I understand that. You can tell them before you board the plane, but telling them months or weeks in advance where they can do their mental kind of, manipulation on you. Nah, bro, nah, bro. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't effing do it. Don't tell nobody before you touch down overseas. If you're gonna learn one thing from this damn video, don't tell nobody when you're gonna touch down overseas. Don't tell them. So I want to talk about final topic. I want to talk about my greatest fear going to Southeast Asia. And the thing is, right, going to Southeast Asia, I've talked about the benefits of expatriation, but there are certain things that I fear. See, when you go over to these countries, right, you have to understand that life is easy. It's really, really easy. Um, from the economic side, because you got money coming through, right? I'm not talking about these losers who go over there, 800 bucks a month. I mean, these are effing losers. We don't care about them. But I'm talking about guys who are going over there on a Western income, right? You go in there on a Western income. Life is easy, okay? It's easy because whatever you're earning now probably goes 4, 5 times, depending on where you go. But whatever you're earning now probably goes 4, 5 times. Is probably 4, 5 times as much. So, you know, you're basically in Disneyland. I mean, you're basically able to do things that you wouldn't do or you couldn't do back in the Western world. The thing is, for a lot of us guys, I mean, you're gonna touch down in Southeast Asia, and let's be honest, you're gonna find a partner out there in these countries, even if you're not looking for a partner. I mean, I've seen guys who've been single, 20 years in the Western world, maybe even more than that, older guys who've always been bachelors. And we promote being bachelors on this channel. This is a bachelor channel. I mean, this is a single male channel. Of course, some single men that come on these channels, are not single for the right reasons, and they're not really supporters of this channel. But we advocate men being single for the right reasons, right? Okay, that's good, okay. But the thing is that it's easy to be single in the Western world, man. I mean, It's super easy to be single in the Western world. I mean, some guys struggle with that, but I don't see why. I mean, it's piss easy to be single in the Western world. It's piss easy. It's piss easy to be single in the Western world, man. It really is. But that's the thing. Okay, it's easy to be single in the Western world, but that's because there's no real temptation. I mean, we saw the statistics or the studies that came out, right, where they were talking about how um they were basically talking about how men are deciding to, stop pursuing the opposite gender because there's no temptation. I mean, why would I pursue the opposite gender in the Western world? I mean, there's no reason, there's nothing pushing me to do that. But the thing is that what you got to consider is when you touch down in these countries, it's a different world, man. I mean, and you are gonna want to dip into that different world, that different dynamic. You're gonna want to dip into that. You're gonna want to basically, um, you're gonna be tempted to go out there and find a partner, even if you're not looking for a partner. You're gonna be tempted because, of course, um, it's a different dynamic out there. It's a completely different dynamic in Thailand, in the Philippines, in Indonesia, in Vietnam, in Cambodia. It's a completely different dynamic. So you're gonna be pushed because you're living an easier life, because you don't need to worry about that money aspect. You're gonna be pushed into getting into a relationship and probably getting married. I mean, I've seen guys do that. I've seen guys that have been bachelors and end up married out there in these countries. That's very, very likely to happen, right? So, what's the issue with that? Well, it's not like getting married in the Western world. It's not like getting married in the Western world because obviously you put a lot at risk in the Western world. You risk a lot in the Western world because of the court systems. Okay, but out there in these countries, you're not risking that, but what you are risking, of course, is the change because having somebody in your life isn't a particularly, in my opinion, beneficial thing for a man to have. Now, some guys may disagree with that, but I'm coming from the perspective of, okay, let's say you have somebody in your life, right? Let's say you have that. They, what you're earning out there in these countries, first of all, it's good money. It's good money what you're earning out there in these countries. But see, it's okay as a man if you're just trying to be an average dude. Yeah, yeah. If you're just trying to be some average Joe Schmo, some average dude, you can afford to go out to these countries and basically just you got your Western income and just settle down and just be some average. I mean, you're not even average in these countries. You're actually above average in these countries. You're well above average in these countries, but it's your average by, let's say, Western standards, right? But my goal is to not just go out to these countries because they're cheap. My goal is to go out to these countries, okay, and enjoy what they have to offer now while I'm not, rich. Enjoy what they have to offer now while I'm not rich, but also I want to be able to live a luxury lifestyle wherever I am in the world at any time, at any place. That's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at being able to live luxury wherever I am in the world. So for me, it's not like I'm just going out to these countries and just live out there forever. I don't know how long I'm going to be out there, but I want to be able to live lux wherever the hell I am in the world, man. That's what I want to be able to do. I want to be able to live lux anywhere. And in order for me to do that, I'm gonna have to be committed. I'm gonna have to stay focused. I can't let the opposite gender or anybody else take me away from my goal. But that ease of life, and one thing about the Western world that one of the few things I can say about the Western world, and some people see it as a bad thing, but one of the few things I can see about the Western world and I understand about the Western world is that, it's designed, right? The Western world is really designed to be super uber competitive. It is really super uber competitive. And because it's so competitive, right? That's why you have to stay on your tail on your toes, I guess, because of how competitive it is. You can't just hold back and just relax. Otherwise, you get overlapped. So that's the reason why a lot of men are also single because a lot of men they don't want that time to be taken away from them. They don't want to to lose their time, their energy and their money to deal with this opposite gender. They don't want to do that. So that's why so many men are single in the Western world. But it's not like that in those countries. But the one downside of that is you can lose basically your potential. And that's what I fear. I fear going over to these countries. And, I said before that it's my idea um that I will become more ambitious and I will become more focused. And that's one side that you can look at. But that's being a single man though. See, and that's the thing. I'm not one of them guys who think I can just go over there to them. I mean, nobody thinks that, but I don't think that I can just go over there to these countries and stay single forever. Because I've seen guys that have been single that go out to these countries and they end up married. So I'm not deluding myself thinking that I'm just going to be single forever. I like being a single male bachelor. I like being a single male bachelor. But at the same time, it's a different world out there in Southeast Asia. It's not the Western world, man. It's not the Western world. So what you got to understand is that if you are gonna get with somebody out there, you know, and I'm against these poor, these poor, a lot of these guys, they go over there and they get with these poor, downtrodden, poverty-stricken peasants. That's my phrase, right? These poverty-stricken peasants in the Philippines, and they're making loser money, and I mean they're not building anything. They don't get any growth out of going to these countries because they're going over there to save their Captain Save-A-Hole. You know, they're going out there to save somebody. I'm not going out to these countries to save nobody. If anything, I'm going out there to save myself. But that's the thing, like I said, I'm going out there for selfish reasons, right? But it's difficult because for me to go out there, okay, I plan to stay out single for 2 years at least. At least stay out there single for 2 years, right? So I can truly experiment, understand, explore. That's my plan to go out there and stay single for 2 years. But I may get tempted to do something, okay? I may get tempted to do something that isn't part of the plan, and that's my biggest fear. That's my biggest fear going to Southeast Asia, that I will get tempted into doing something, and getting into a relationship and getting um married or something like that within a year of being out there, which I believe is a bad idea, which will completely sidetrack my progress. um I see guys in the Western world that are married, and yeah, it's a different ball game out there, but you're still married at the end of the day, man. Talking about your kids, talking about this. I don't want to have to deal with all that while I'm building my wealth. I don't want to have to deal with that while I'm in the key stages of building my wealth. I'm not even a millionaire yet. So that's the thing, guys. I mean, that's my thing because I'm trying to become rich, okay? And I will become rich. But if you're not interested in getting rich, then yeah, you can go over there and just, but you can still got to be careful. But yeah, I mean, it's a different ball game when you make the decision that you want to be rich as a man. It's a completely different ball game. You're not playing with the same cards. Most guys who go over to these countries, they're not trying to be rich. Most guys who go over to Southeast Asia, they ain't trying to be rich. They already given up on becoming rich. But I'm on that path to success. And I just got to be careful. And that's why I'm making this video, because I watch my own videos. I believe I got the best content out there. I don't care what anyone says. And I watch my own videos. And the reason why I'm making this video is because I need that reminder so that I don't get sidetracked. I don't get sidetracked and I stay on my path to success. It's Unreal Man here, the truth of man. So if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you aren't already. And make sure you hit the notification bell so you're informed every time I upload a new video.